Every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV News on the Hour with Nifemi Oguntoye. Doctors have made good the threat to abandon public hospitals across the country. In Abuja, no single medical doctor was cited in any of the public hospitals. Only nurses were seen attending to patients. At the National Hospital, some of the patients were discharged because of the strike, but they refused to go home.
It's the first day of a nationwide doctor strike in Nigeria. The National Hospital is usually a beehive of activities, but not today. The hallway is empty and the words are scanty. Doctors are not in sight and the nurses are in no mood to work. Only a few patients are in the wards. We were told many of them have since been discharged, but there are also others who are not prepared to go home yet.
It can't be a voluntary discharge. I was in my room last night and a doctor came, a lady, said they are going on strike and that they have to discharge me. I said, discharge me in this condition? How do you want me to handle it? I can't be on my feet, so how am I going to handle it at home?
And this woman, who was practically relocated to the hospital because of her sick husband, is in a fix.
Yes, they said they're on strike, so there's no one to treat him, so we should leave. Then give us B now. They didn't even give well treatment, and the B is too much. And that tell us to go to another hospital. So if you use the money and pay here now, what will go and pay you in the next hospital?
But the hospital management claims that there are no plans to discharge any patient forcefully. Dr. Tayo Hastrop is the spokesman of the National Hospital.
Management has met and resolved that we will not discharge the patients in the wards. We will attend to them except the ones that are due for discharge. And we also accept emergency cases, but we will not admit patients to the wards. Any strike in the health sector will not affect people, particularly patients.
For now, the doctor strike is in full swing across the country because the authorities have yet to accede to the demands outlined by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Our correspondent Oluwaseyi Adegoke also visited some hospitals in Lagos. Our report is presented from our studios.
The Nigerian Medical Association says it has been taken for granted by the federal government, and until the federal government meets the 24 points demand, there is no going back on the strike. President of the Resident Doctors Association, Lagos University Teaching Hospital Chapter, Omojowolo Lubumi, says though they sympathize with patients and the sick who will be mostly affected, there is no going back on the planned strike.
The issues involved are many, and those have been well outlined in the communique that was issued earlier. And on this issue, NMA has had series of negotiations with the federal government. Now, some of the issues, there are 24 of them, but it comprises issue concerning residency training, funding of residency training, issue of healthcare coverage for Nigerians, issue of consultancy status, issue of position appointment of the chief medical director, and issue concerning abolition of the position of the deputy CMAC, among other things. They are contentious issues which NMA, despite all our negotiation, have not been able to make any appreciable progress. So, and we have been forced to call this strike action.
Vice President of the Resident Doctors Association, Akikumi Afolabi, says the dialogue they had with the federal government did not yield any positive results.
The Nigerian Medical Association has engaged in so many discussions with the federal government, and an ultimatum was given. And even after the ultimatum was given, the federal government invited them to a meeting with the attendant, and all the matters were discussed. But I think the association has not seen enough sincerity being demonstrated by the federal government, and that's why the strike has been called upon. Most of the issues in the 24-point demand are issues that are very easy to resolve, you understand, if the government shows a lot of sincerity. So negotiations have actually been ongoing for a very long time. For some of the agreements were signed in January, this is July, a lot of them has not been met. So the truth is that negotiations have been ongoing for a very long time, but it is high time, you know, something that has to be done just to put the federal government back to their words.
The Nigerian Medical Association says the strike is aimed at saving the healthcare delivery system from retardation.
An explosion have reportedly killed people at the popular Monday market in Maiduguri, northeastern Nigeria. The explosives were said to have been hidden in a vehicle carrying charcoal. No group has claimed responsibility yet for the attack. The driver of the vehicle was believed to be among those killed, while several vehicles were said to have either been damaged or destroyed. Witnesses say the casualty figure would have been higher, but for the absence of most people who were still at home due to the Ramadan fast. And in an occurrence that has raised fears in Osun State, a low-caliber bomb went off in the Onipetu area of Ile-Ife, though nobody was killed or injured. The Osun State Police Commissioner Ibrahim Ishano confirmed the explosion. He says the police deactivated another bomb before it detonated. He maintained that the police were at the scene of the incident where there were low-caliber grenades. According to the police commissioner, the first explosion was before the police arrived, while the other was defused, adding that explosion occurred in a remote area. He, however, says investigations have commenced on the explosion. We'll bring you details as they unfold. Members of the House of Representatives are concerned about the state of security equipment used by security forces to wage war against insurgents. Speaking during the debate on the bill for an act to amend the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, the lawmakers were of the view that modern security equipment will enhance security in the country. The bill was referred to the House Committee on Defense for further action.
We're also trying to bring in the Ministry of Science and Technology to have an input into the composition of the board, because we believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, that what is needed is a joint effort by all concerned, everybody concerned in Nigeria, to make sure that the armed forces are well equipped and empowered to be able to carry out the responsibilities which they must do in the current context of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think that this bill should be committed to the House. It's non-controversial, and I believe that members should support it.
This particular bill, Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, reminds me of an application I brought here a little while back to seek to equip us to better man our roads with the latest technology possible. And the reason then I advanced, which I believe is relevant even in this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, is that whereas the whole world is moving towards technological advancement in the manner of delivery of security, in our country we are still very much rooted in the past, and we're doing things using updated methods, especially the manual system of checking of vehicles that we are embarked on our roads presently.
The freezing of the Adamawa State government's account by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has taken its toll on civil servants. Days after payday, civil servants in the state are yet to receive their June salaries. No one has offered explanation over the cause of the delay. The state's Accountant General Nasir Mohammed says the Anti-Graft Commission is now in charge of the state's treasury. The Adamawa state government's bank accounts were frozen in June amidst outcry of looting uncovered in an ongoing investigation. The FCC says its investigation was triggered by petitions alleging massive looting of the state's treasury over invoicing and inflation of contracts. Meanwhile, the Adamawa State House of Assembly has pledged support for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's probe of the finances of the state. Speaker of the House, Umar Fintiri, made this known while speaking on the finances of the state and the floor of the State House of Assembly. He says the House is in total support of the efforts of the EFCC in probing the state's finances and will render all necessary support.
That the state government should, without further delay, pay June salary immediately for the fact that the salary account and the running cost account has been opened by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. Is that the decision of this House? The second is that we support the Economic and Financial Crime Commission to still maintain the capital project account sealed and frozen. Is that the position of this House?
Former Osun State Governor Olagunsoye Oyinlola held closed-door talks with President Goodluck Jonathan a few days after APC leaders met him. Oyinlola, who is also former National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, was led to the meeting by party chairman Adamu Muazu. The session lasted about an hour, and afterwards the former Osun State Governor insisted that he remained PDP National Secretary.
All I'm telling you is that Oyinlola, in the face of the law, remains the authentic Secretary of People's Democratic Party. Anybody in that office for now is a pretender.
President Goodluck Jonathan has signed the Pension Reform Bill 2014 into law. The new law repeals the Pension Reform Act No. 2 of 2004. The president signed the bill at the brief ceremony witnessed by Vice President Amadi Sambo and Attorney General of the Federation Mohammed Adoke. Director General of the National Pension Commission Chinelu Amazu was also in attendance. More protests have followed the proposed creation of council development areas in Ekiti State. Ikoro Ekiti, in Ijero local government area of the state, have asked for a separate local council with headquarters in Koro Ekiti. Rashid has the report.
The traditional independence of most communities in Ekiti has been the contending issue surrounding the proposed creation of local council development areas. Communities like Koro Ekiti see the carved local council area as an infringement on their traditional independence.
Traditional address. The second phase is political, social, economic address by Chief Sakoro. We will not condone any deliberate or subtle infringement of our constitutional rights anymore, as we will continue to strive even harder for the full realization of our legitimate political and economic aspirations within the context of the Nigeria Federation.
Koro Ekiti is one of the communities under Ijero local government. It has now been merged with the newly created Irede local council with headquarters in Ipoti Ekiti. They protested the creation of the new Irede local council.
The demarcation exercise marks of willful distortion of the traditional history of Ijero local government. It is subversive of Ikoro's supreme royalty as well as economic interest. In effect, we, the good people of Ikoro community, deem the latest exercise as utterly irregular and hence unacceptable. And so, we reject it.
The Onikoro in council led the protest, stating the demand of the community.
We restate our legitimate and principled demand for a separate Eshobe local council development authority with headquarters at Ikoro Ekiti. But failing which, we shall employ all constitutional means at our disposal to pursue an agenda for ultimate self-autonomy for Ikoro community.
These protests have showed the dissatisfaction of some communities who are supposed to be beneficiaries of the new local councils. The white paper on the creation has, however, made provision for referendum on the new council areas. Rashid, CoreTV News, Koro Ekiti.
A pressure group coalition against corrupt leaders has called on President Goodluck Jonathan and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to look into the issue of endemic corruption among top officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Olajumoke Olatunji has more in this report.
The Coalition Against Corrupt Leaders, CACO, has used the platform presented by the yearly Anti-Drug Day celebration to call on President Goodluck Jonathan to take a closer look at the activities of drug barons in Nigeria. The group also says the president should take a keen interest in the alleged cover-up of the activities of drug barons by top officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and the alleged opulent lifestyles and see if it is consistent with their income. The chairman of the group, Debo Adeniro, says some elements within the agency are helping drug convicts to evade serving their jail terms.
Trading and trafficking in illicit drug has become problematic in Nigeria. This is because since the advent of Amadou Gade as the chairman, chief executive of National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the war against drug has nosedived to the extent that most drug barons have gone out of court scot-free. Even those that are convicted are not allowed to serve their jail terms. What we want the president to do is to set up a panel to investigate the petition that Mr. Paul Audu has sent to him to investigate the rot that is going on in the LDLA and to investigate the fact that some convicted drug barons or drug peddlers are not allowed to spend their terms in prison as dictated by the competent court of competent jurisdiction.
He, however, says the Nigerians should not be quick to judge the NDLEA on the appointment of Rolly George, positing that she should be left to prove herself and not be judged in the alleged misconduct of her husband.
As far as we are concerned, Rolly is qualified to be the Director General of NDLEA. Rolly has not been convicted of any, in any competent court of law as far as we know. And Rolly's husband's sin, even if he has committed any sin, cannot be visited on her. What is important is to examine Rolly's personal credibility, not because he was wife to somebody. Because when Bode George was to go to prison, even when Rolly was in the court premises when the husband was convicted, she didn't go to prison with him. It means that everybody answers to his own responsibility.
Kako also condemns the sad development of drug barons flaunting their wealth all over Nigeria. Olajumoke Olatunji, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The Lagos state government has expressed its readiness to ensure that the process of slaughtering cows in the state is in conformity with international standards. Governor Babatunde Fashola made the disclosure at the Okoba Abattoir in Agege local government. Abiola Oluwole was there. His report is presented from our studios.
The Okoba Abattoir is a major economic chain in Lagos with different business activities in meat business. In order to ensure that operators of the abattoir carry out the business in line with best practices, the state government sponsored the leadership of the abattoir to Kenya and Botswana so as to learn advanced technologies and maximize output. Governor Babatunde Fashola visited the abattoir on an inspection. Fashola says some of the amenities needed in the abattoir are perimeter fence and reconstruction of the trailer park, among others.
This is the reform they themselves have taken on, as the Seriki has told us that this is their reform. So we are just here coasting with what they are doing and giving help. One of the things we will do very quickly is to help them to fence up this place now, because that's his request. You want us to fence the place up. So that's really it. We want to improve the capacity of this place. First, to keep jobs. First, to keep employment, and to employ more people. You can employ more people if it's organized.
The governor's visit is expected to boost business in the abattoir and raise the standard of hygiene.
You're watching CoreTV News live from Lagos. We'll take a break and I'll be back with more stories. Stay with us.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
CoreTV News presents a platform with presence in over 30 states of the Federation. Be sure to be had. For live coverage of events, we have the capacity to deliver from anywhere in Nigeria and beyond. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733, 014-533-407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Welcome back. Outside Nigeria now, nearly 250,000 members of South Africa's largest union downed tools to begin an indefinite strike that threatens to bring the engineering sector to a halt. Members of the National Union of Metal Workers marched in cities across the country, demanding a pay rise of up to 12% and better working conditions. In Johannesburg city centre, thousands of workers clad in red waved sticks and branches from trees as they marched to the offices of an industry federation to hand in their demands. The strike is expected to hit more than 10,000 metals and engineering firms that account for about 4% of South African economic output. The industrial unrest could also spread to the power generation sector, where wage talks at state-owned electricity monopoly Eskom are deadlocked. The model trial of South African Paralympian Oscar Pistorius turned its focus on to whether neighbors could have heard his girlfriend screaming on the night he shot her dead. Prosecutors are trying to prove that River Steenkamp screamed and that this showed the star athlete knowingly gunned her down in a fit of anger after a row in the early hours of Valentine's Day last year. The defense called Pistorius' longtime manager, Peter Van Zyl, who described Pistorius as having a heightened sense of awareness and being fearful of crime, but rarely aggressive.
You?
So do you swear that the evidence about you shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
In Rio, where...
Meaning he does not want to be televised.
Through all the interaction I had with Mr. Pistorius over the years, it was very evident that, and for me the best way to describe it is basically a heightened sense of awareness.
When you were abroad and he was in his hotel room, how would he, according to you, secure his safety?
By knocking on the door, he always asked first who is at the door, and then secondly, when he opened the door was not only just locked but always had the latch on, which was also for me interesting, being in a safe environment, that he always had the latch on the door apart from just normal lock on the door.
You also informed me about, as an example, when you sat down at this dining room table to look at contracts.
Whenever we were sitting around the dining table, and it sometimes even was a bit annoying for me that I could never keep him focused on it, as he was always looking around, asking his housekeeper if the front door is locked, asking where the dogs are, so always fidgety.
And that's it on CoreTV News this hour. Join us again at the top of the hour for more stories. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for being there.